smile around. Whoa. Who's the best? Who's the best? Let me hear you say it. I feel like the greatest alive right now. Say it with your chest. That's it. And here's the thing, if you can't say it from your chest right now, just say, I'm working on it, sis. Because some days we don't feel like the greatest alive right now, but you can still tell yourself, but I'm working on it, sis. So I am LaShasta Bell. That's me, another version of me, You know how we can switch it up anytime. I am a licensed professional counselor, supervisor. I am a certified sleep strategist, or a certified sleep science coach. I coin myself the professional sleep strategist because I help you get rested. I also have a counseling practice in League City, a group practice where we help 5 and up. And most of all, I'm just this woman that's on a mission to help others, especially others that look like me, that feel like me, that used to be me, to become greater than me. So today, I'm going to talk to you about going to bed. Going to bed. Because we live in this hustle and this grind society. And it's just not working out well. I don't know about you guys, but it just did not work out well for me. So what we are going to do first is I'd like to do a brain dump. So there's a form that has this beautiful colored, there you go. It's 3 square or 3 rectangles. Yeah, those are rectangles. We're gonna do that one. And what a brain dump is basically an opportunity for you to clear your mind so you can wholeheartedly, whole-mindedly receive what I'm gonna say. And you'll have a place to put it because you're gonna dump all the other stuff on the page. So the brain dump is right now, take a few minutes, whatever's on your mind, you write it out. Just write it out in that first rectangle, whatever comes to mind. Did I lock the front door? Did I add apples to the grocery list? Whatever it is, just write it out. I'm not going to ask you to share. Some can share if they want to, if you want to volunteer. So I want you to feel free and know that this is a safe place to put all the thoughts that's running through your mind. Some of you might be surprised what's on your mind. If where she got those shoes is on your mind, I'll tell you later. I'll give a few more seconds because I know some of you could dump your brain all day. And that's okay because the reason that I start with a brain dump is research says that when we get new information, if we don't do anything with it within 24 hours, we typically do not. So anytime I'm before any group, there's going to be an activity that we put in place right away because guess what? Now you're not that statistic. You did something with it within 24 hours. So the likelihood is that you'll continue to do this. And the hopes is that you do. So after you have written out everything that's on your mind, there's 2 columns, in my control and out of my control. You look at that list and we are going to split it up. What's in your control, drop it in that box. Side note, the only thing that's in your control is your business. Not your children, not your spouse, not your employees, not sister them. It may sometimes feel like it's in our control, which I'm going to get to that. But what is in your control? That means you can do or say something to alleviate whatever it is that's on your mind. The other box is out of my control. So whatever else is left, that's out of your control. Your kids studying for the SAT, getting to bed on time, brushing their teeth in the morning. Those are all out of your control. Employees showing up at work on time, out of your control. Now, here's a hack. Now, what's out of your control, it's out of your control to solve, but it's in your control as to how you will respond to it. Right? So, because I know some of us, I'm used to be part of the club, likes to control everything around us all the time. So that's a little hack. It's like, okay, now I cannot control if my kid brushes teeth this morning, but I can control how I respond to it. I can control, and we'll talk about boundaries here in a minute, the boundaries that I set in and around. So that out of your control list, understand that we'll get to peep our eyes at it a little bit with some of the things that I'm talking about today so that you can know how to govern yourself with the things out of your control. The things that's in your control now become your to-do. It could be to-do this week, next week, quarter 3, quarter 4. It's now a goal because it's something you can solve. Now tell me this, when you look at your list, which list is longer? What? No. So right now, you instantly just allowed yourself to dump those things out and understand I only have to decide how I'm going to react to this list. There is nothing else for me to do. So if your list was longer, out of your control, you should feel like lighter. Your shoulders should go up a little bit. Your back, a little arch in it. Because some of the things that were weighing you down, you just realized they're not mine. They're not yours. You just get to decide how you respond. And so you may say, okay, well, Shasta, how does this have to do with going to bed? We start to cultivate our sleep, we should, the moment we wake up. Sleep is just not what happens 10 to 7, 10 to 6, some of us not even that, we're gonna get to that. But it should start the moment you wake up. The intention should be, let me walk and move through this day to cultivate my sleep for tonight. And that's what I'm here to do, to help you create this mindset shift so that you prioritize your sleep. That it goes at the top of your list instead of like barely hanging on to the list, like barely making it. So there are 3 questions that I typically use to poll an audience. And the first one is, it takes me less or greater than 15 minutes to get to sleep. Or was that greater than? Less than. Greater than. Okay. Oh, see, I thought the 100% they had already answered. This tech savvy, I'm with it. I'm with it. 66.7%. 62. Come on, somebody make up their mind. Oh, never mind. Takes you longer than 15 minutes to fall asleep. 60%. 63. Somebody trying to decide. On average. So if it happened for you one night, that's not the norm. If most nights is more than 15 minutes, that's where we want to be. Okay? All right, next question. That you're sleeping at least 7 hours of sleep. 7 hours or more. I'm a 8-9 hour. I know. It's a hack. It's possible. Before COVID, I was like, my sweet spot was 7. But since the pandemic, my sweet spot is 8 to 9. I don't know if I can teach all that in 20 minutes, but I can. I can teach it in about 90 days, though. Okay, so once again, we're about 2/3 of the room. Last question. Somebody said, there it is. Man, I was on the right side of right, and then she hit me with this one. Getting up in the middle of the night. Or middle of the morning, you know. Look, there's a lot of things that said about that 3, but brain-wise, I tell you what that is. Okay. Woo. We at 72% of the room. Okay. How you guys feel about these numbers? Need some help? It's different when you see it. Yeah. It's not just you. Research says at least a third of Americans are not getting good quality sleep. And as you can see, as we poll the room with women, that percentage goes up. On every question, it was at least 2/3. And so understanding that we have to choose to prioritize the sleep because it's not just going to happen. The comments about the 3 in the morning, I know that there's spiritual things behind it. I know that there's philosophical things behind it. But the biological brain part is you've just trained your brain to do it. For instance, like I don't get up in the middle of the night. I don't wake up out of my sleep. I sleep. But something happened. And I found myself up using the restroom one night. I'm like, okay, cool. That's one and done. Next night, guess what? Around that same time, by the third night, I was like, hold on, sis. Because my brain is cis too. Like we all cis. I'm like, hold on. That's not what we do. We about to lay here and we're going back to sleep because that is what we do. And if by chance you cannot hold it, Miss Bladder, because you've been holding it since we was about 3, then we just gonna have a situation in the morning. Yeah, we're gonna have a cleanup. Clean up on aisle 3. Clean up on aisle 3. But guess what happened? There was no cleanup on aisle 3. I went back to sleep, and by the 4th night, there was no more waking up. Our brain is so beautiful that we can cultivate it, we can sculpture it, we can teach it, but you have to have that awareness. So if I didn't do what I do for my job and what I love for a passion, I would have kept getting up. I would have become one of those, I'm getting older, this bladder betraying me, and now I got to get up and go to the restroom. No, it's not betraying me yet. I'm not saying that it won't, but it's just not right now. But I had to make a conscious decision. I had to be intentional about saying, I'm just going to lay here. Was I nervous? Yes. Because I'm like, how am I going to explain to my husband that the bed is a little wet, But there was no problem. So it's really about, yes, it's there at 3 a.m. and 3:33. And I know that, like I said, the numbers are significant and there's a whole explanation around it. And I'm not here to debunk anybody's anything. I'm just here to say, maybe consider. Maybe consider. So we've done the brain jump. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, women experience more anxiety and depression than their male counterparts. And based on your list and your brain dump, you see why. Because we in everybody's stuff. And it's not that we want to be all the time. It's that we've been trained to be. We've been taught that we have to solve it, we have to fix it, we have to address it. I'm here to tell you, you do not, you do not, you do not, and you do not. You get to choose how you respond and you keep it moving. And you focus on those things that you really need to do. So, BED, it's an acronym. I'm a former educator as well. I was a school counselor, I was a special ed self-contained behavior teacher, district counselor, social worker. So when you ask me, LaShasta, how long have you been advocating and working with behavior and mental health? I'm going to tell you 20 plus years. I know. I was 3. I was 3 when I started. So B is for boundaries. And if you look at the other form, it's there to kind of divide out. This is an activity that you'll more so do at home. I'm going to give you the meat of it, and then you can take it with you and do it. You can start doing it now. But basically, it's understanding boundaries. Boundaries is a real popular word right now. It's trending. I love when mental health trends. But basically, boundaries are teaching people how to treat you. Teaching people how to treat you. Like, this is who I am, and this is what is okay, and this is what is not okay. For instance, I got a text the other night from my sister. I have an older sister. Ancestry.com found us last year. Yes, isn't it beautiful? So she texted me, and she was like, she had say, "Hi, I was checking in on you." I'm like, "I'm good." She was like, I was like, "How are you?" "I'm better. I'll tell you about it tomorrow because I know you're getting ready for bed." It was 9:41. You teach people how to treat you. And the next morning, I said, "You were absolutely right. We've only been knowing each other a few months, and you already know me. You know how I feel about my sleep. It's protected. Do not touch it." Of course, I run two companies. One deals with mental health and crisis, and I ask them, is it urgent or is it important? Because if it's important, it can wait till before 10 a.m., 10 p.m., or after 9 a.m. Because I'm not here for the shenanigans. If it's outside of that time. If it's the weekend, I'll answer one or two questions, and then I say, is this important or is it urgent? Because if it's just important, send it to me in the email. Because it's the weekend. So setting boundaries around your time. There's financial boundaries too, and I know up next you guys are going to learn about financial workshops and things, but so I'm not going to go too far in it. But it's just about teaching people how to treat you. But before you can teach anyone else, guess what? You got to teach yourself. You got to talk. "Hey, sis. Hey, Miss Bladder. We're not getting up." See, that was a boundary. Like, we're not going to do this at 2 in the morning. So reminding yourself, like, what do I need for me? Where is my deficit? Where am I not treating myself the best? What do I need to do differently? And then you can teach others. I used to be so filled with anxiety and so worried about who said what, when, where. It would take me upwards to an hour and a half to fall asleep. I'm stamped and diagnosed ADHD. The part of my brain that's impacted is my personal narrative, meaning, like, if we go on a trip and then you want to talk about it a year later, I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like, I'd never been. Like, the deer in headlights. I literally told somebody yesterday, I'm like, it took me 15 years to remember somebody really close to me birthday. That's just how my brain is set up. However, I can remember being about 8 years old and remembering seeing my dad's girlfriend fall asleep. And it was like she fell asleep in midair. And I was like, how'd she do that? Which meant for me, even as a child, it was hard to fall asleep. So this was a journey. Because like I said, I don't remember Sis' birthday. We've been knowing each other 25 years. It took 15. But I could remember that. But now also I know that she was sleep deprived because we shouldn't fall asleep that quickly. So one or the other. You know, he's like, "Oh, you got to pick a basket." So understanding that you have to know you and what you need in order to teach it to someone else. I sometimes take she-cations. It's why I vacation by myself. I didn't know that I needed that for years. I didn't know that I needed time by myself because I've literally been raising kids since I was 19. Whether it was my sister, my boyfriend, now husband, kids, I have been actively pursuing parenting and taking care of someone else. And one day I was like, I just need to go. I don't know where, I don't know how long, I need to go. And so I had to sit with that, because how you explain to a man you've been with since you was 12, like 13, whatever, that I don't want to be by you right now. I don't want to be by anybody. Here go these kids. I'm out. But I was able to sit with it, and sometimes it takes therapy and support of others to understand what I needed to communicate. After that first trip, like when it was about month 8 or 9, him and my son like, "Mom, when you going to, do your thing? Isn't it about time?" So they knew. They could start to see when it was time for, like, she needs to be by herself for a couple days, and then they would encourage it. And like you said, wow, because you don't believe that you could actually create boundaries where not only would people respect them, they will help you help yourself to be your best self. And it's a whole true thing. So that's it. The boundaries is teaching people how to treat you. Why do we need boundaries, LaShasta, to help us sleep? Because then this list, this brain dump, become smaller and smaller. Because in the daytime, you're telling people, I'm okay with this, I'm not okay with that. And let your yes be yes and your no be no. No is a complete sentence. No, period. No exclamation mark. But we're not doing no question mark. No, maybe. No. Just no. And some people say, okay, well, that's hard. It's hard to get to that space. What I did personally, I started with, because how many of us get asked for help often? With probably sometimes random stuff. You're like, why are you asking me? I don't even know how to do that. Uh-huh. So when someone, the way I started, when someone would say, LaShasta, can you do me a favor? I hit them with, it depends on what it is. Someone like, huh? Yeah, that's what I said. I said what I said. It depends on what it is. I'm not giving you a yes like I used to without knowing what I'm walking into. So that's a way to start with your boundaries. When someone asks you for something, you can just like, depends on what it is. But if they outright ask you like, hey, can I borrow $150 until, 2023? Come on now, somebody. I'm not making it up. You can say, let me circle back to that. Let me circle back to you. I'm in the middle of da-da-da. Let me circle back to you. Because now it gives you time to move away from default of saying yes and then trying to figure out how to make it work later. And you can remember, last time I let that person borrow money, I said it was the last time. And so either it depends on what it is or let me circle back to it. Some of the stuff we just have to say it with our chest and just say no. And you know those things. You know the things already that just don't even make sense that you're even doing that you just have to say no to. And people start to learn. I think the breakdown is like maybe about 70-some% and will not respect your boundaries at first. They're yours. They good with the way it was, right? They don't have no problem with it. So if you want them to respect them, you have to be consistent and put it on repeat. Because it's important to you. It's not important to them. It's urgent for you. It's not urgent for them. There's a small percentage, the healthier people that's in your life, that will respect it and be like, okay, I understand, I respect that. And some will just never get it, and you'll have to decide how valuable they are to your world. Because some people will have to go. Just period. So that is the boundaries part of it. The next thing we look at is E is evaluate. So when you look at your paper and it says the mental, the spiritual, the physical, it's taking that moment to evaluate. Where am I spiritually? Where am I mentally? Where am I physically? Because one of the key components of getting to bed and sleeping well is having this intentionality and self-awareness. Part of what I'm trying to help you do is clear your plate so you can see your plate. A lot of us can't see ourselves. We can't develop awareness because there's too much stuff on our plate. So I'm trying to help you clear it so you see yourself. When you see yourself, then you can evaluate these important parts of life. Just take a moment and just say, like, okay, where am I spiritually? And spiritual is defined differently for everyone. Some people tie it to religion. Some people tie it to alone time. Some people tie it to meditation and mindfulness. You get to choose because it's your spiritual component of you. And if you're not sure, then maybe ask yourself, well, what do I want it to look like? What feels right for me right now today? Because who I was spiritually 5 years ago, according to Facebook, I am not today. I'm not going to be quoting and dropping scripture. Do I live by it? Yes. But I don't need to quote it for it to be in me. My spiritual is more some focus coaching in the morning, some focus coaching at night, being really intentional about how I move in life and what I say out my mouth and when I say it, what I say to myself. That's my spiritual. Mental. I know some people say we talk about mental health and, oh, Lord, I ain't got no mental health issues. It's like, that ain't what I said. I said mental health. Issue is a whole nother word, you didn't add it, but that's some of the taboo around mental health. So understanding mental health is how you see the world, how you interact with the world, your perspective on things. That's what mental health is. So when we understand and learn the different definition, you did know that, yeah, I need mental health. Sign me up for some of that. Not that you couldn't sign up for it, because it's part of who you are. Physical health, your physical part of you, evaluating how do you feel, not how you look, because it irritates me. You can see it on my face when people tie their physicality to what they look like. It's like, no. What do you feel like physically? Is your body doing for you what you need it to do? Like, do you feel like you can jump up and down? Move a little bit. And if you're not pleased, then you start to put things into place that will be pleasing for you. Everybody don't have to hit the gym. I used to rollerblade. I used to keep rollerblades in the back of my car, and when my son would have football practice, I would put my rollerblades on and rollerblade around the parking lot. I didn't care what people was thinking. I don't want to be the gossip mom sitting there talking about everybody. And if I'm going to be in the sun, I may as well be moving. And it was fun for me. Put a little music on, and I'm rollerblading. I tried to go back to him, and my family laughed. It's like, you're not where you used to be. I'm like, I ain't worried about y'all, because I got 2 dudes at my house, so the energy a little different. I ain't worried about y'all. I'm tying up my rollerblades. Y'all, I went out there to skate. I said, yes, sis. These days it's over. I felt like I was going to fall like 11 times. I was nervous. Like, it was not fun. Well, like it used to be fun because I was confident in being able to maneuver and navigate. I said, this is just one we can't go back and recapture. And it's okay, so I'm going to have to get on rollerblades. So I even tried to buy my little elbow pads and knee pads because I'm older. And it's like, you're not finna. They were right, but don't tell them. We will not ever tell them. So that's the E, evaluating. Like just really taking a moment. This could be like a minute before bedtime, 2 minutes in the morning. It does not take a lot of time. It just really does take being intentional. And then develop a routine. That's the D, developing a routine. This is where the money is, developing that routine. So, we talked about sleep is cultivated from the moment that you wake up. It's also in the details. So in the details is where you find transformation. It's not the big picture stuff. So routine, when we talk about routine, it can start from the morning. But I'm just going to talk a little bit about sleep hygiene and that bedtime routine. So what you're doing leading up to bed, an hour, hour and a half, whenever you want to start your routine, it needs to be at least 30 minutes before bed. So being able to say, okay, everybody take a moment and think about what it is that you do consistently an hour to 2 hours before bed. Just think about it. Take a moment. I know what most of y'all are going to say, but it's okay. We're going to work that out. Some of us are on our phone. Some of us are in the TV. Some of us are not being intentional about our behavior, so it looks different every night. Bedtime is different every night, so you really just can't even pinpoint a thing besides feeling chaotic before bed. I know you're like, why? Why are you in my business? I thought you said in your control and out of your control. So ask yourself which of those add to you being relaxed and ready for bed, and which of those are not adding to it. The things that are feeling chaotic, the things that are keeping you awake, for now, I'm not going to even say remove them. I'm going to say move them up further in the day. Just take them out of the 2 hours before bed, hour and a half before bed, even 30 minutes. If it's like, okay, I can't see it, then just start with 30 minutes before bed. My phone goes to, first I have limits on social media apps because you want to know, like LaShasta, how you get 8-9 hours. I have limits on social media apps. We talk about self-boundaries. When that thing say you don't have no more time, sis, I don't say give me more time. I'm like, well, I guess I'm done for the day. So we're not no more Instagram, Facebook. And yes, I have businesses and you got to respond to the comments. But once again, I'm a sleep strategist. So they going to get it. If it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm not responding, it's because I'm in bed. So it's really about making sure whatever you're doing, you are consistently you, because those boundaries help. So I have that limit. Then I also have just a limit of alerts coming through, which those of us who are iPhone users, Team iPhone, has a new feature where you can silence things and people have to intentionally press the button, which I do sometimes and I feel a little guilty. Like, do y'all get that feeling when you like notify them anyway? Yeah. Like, oh, you sit and think about like, is it important? Is it urgent? So you see how even the phones are helping you with your boundaries. So let your smartphone be smart for you is one. I have a wind down time. So I have a little alert that will go off. They'll be like, I wish I could make it say, sis, it's time to wind down, but they're not ready yet. So it just says wind down. And so then that's your visual or auditory notification to say, let me start my bedtime routine. I stretch before bed. I have a hot cup of tea. If I don't have my tea, my husband's like, you ain't having your tea tonight? That's just it. At first, y'all, it's like, oh, this making me feel old having tea. I used to be a hot tea drinker. It just be sweet tea. You have to be willing to release the judgment of yourself and give yourself permission to do what comes organically. I have my essential oils. I have diffusers throughout the house. So I'll drop some or rub it under the bottom of my feet, brushing my teeth. That's, putting your hair bunted on, getting my eye mask. All of those are part of my bedtime routine, which is telling my brain it's time to go to bed. So I'm prepping it. I'm going to challenge you. If you consistently brush your teeth at night before bed, brush your teeth around 6 o'clock in the evening, and then hit me up on IG and tell me what happened. Because then when you see what happens, you'll be like, she ain't lying. That's real. Because typically you'll start to get sleepy. You'll get really relaxed because you did something that's in your bedtime routine before bedtime. And so that's how, so if I have tea in the middle of the day, I'm more relaxed. Even if it's like a caffeinated tea, because my brain is used to tea at bedtime. So you develop your routine. It gets to be whatever you make it. If you brush your hair, if you oil your scalp, washing your face, whatever it is, being present. So when it says be mindful, mindful just means being present. Using as many of your senses, as many of your 5 senses as you can to be present in the moment. So if I'm mindfully showering, I'm looking at the soap, I'm smelling the soap, I'm feeling the texture of the soap. When I'm applying it, I'm watching it lather, I'm looking at the bubbles, I'm feeling it. Because when we are present, there's no anxiety in the present moment. There's no worry in the present moment. Most of the time, we worry about past things or future things. So, any questions? Because I can go. I can talk y'all to sleep. Any questions on going to bed, boundaries, evaluating your day and your being, and developing a routine? I killed it like that. Y'all got no questions? I get to pick the brain one time. So at night, I use lavender is a good one, but I have a blend called Serenity that I'll use. I also use, it's hard to pronounce sometimes, Vetiver, Vetiver. Vetiver. There you go. See, in my mind. But I use that. It's amazing. And you can put, when you apply essential oils, if you don't have a diffuser or you don't want to buy one just yet, put it on your big toe. And then you can put it in between your toes. If you have a sinus congestion thing in between your toe and on the outer part of your big toe, if you look at a diagram of our feet, a good part of our body is connected to our feet. And so that's it. She coming in with the technical terms. I just be trying to give it to y'all regular, just regular smuggler. Gabby over here like. So those are the two. Lavender is a good one. Copaiba is a good oil to use individually, but if you use it with any other oil, it magnifies the benefits of that oil. And a lot of oils you can ingest. You can, like I said, you cultivate your sleep from the moment you wake up. It's in the details. So drop a little bit in your beverage in the morning and drink it. And like the lavender, you can put it in your foods. You can cook with it. You can do a lot of things with it. But if you find yourself typically being anxious and moving quick, start with that. Do that in the morning. Rock it all day. When I travel, like I'm here now for the weekend, I brought like 4, 5, 6 oils. If I'm anywhere more than 2 nights, I take my diffuser. It's always room in my bag for my diffuser. And my people know. They be like, you bringing their oils? Yep, got you covered. Make a little ginger tea. All you need is ginger oil, hot water, and honey. I mean, it's multifaceted. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Okay. So there's two things that should happen in the bed. Call it S squared. Who could guess? Who could guess? We all grown. Sleep and sex. So if you're doing more than sleep and sex in your bed, you need to get out. Once, if you're doing anything in your bed, no snacks, no computers, anything besides sleep and sex, get out. S squared. S squared. It's coming on the shirt. It is. It's on my social media, and I saw it. I'm like, oh, that's sexy. But you know, you have to prioritize the task. And the shirts wasn't ready. They not on the top of the list. That's quarter two. So yes, S squared. So that is likely the problem, that you're doing too many other things in your bed, and so your brain has connected all of these other things to being in the bed. And I tell my clients this all the time. So you know, in the world of virtual, some of them, one in particular, she'll do her session from bed. And I say, I don't know why you're doing this. Because you know you're about to start yawning, then I'm going to start yawning, then it's going to like I'm not here to do my job. And she was like, I know. The first time she had a session from the bed, she didn't believe me. She was like, but now the next time, she's like, okay, I'm going to go sit at this desk. Because if you only having sex or sleeping in your bed, if you get in your bed to do something else, you're going to start to get tired. And so she started yawning and slinking. I'm like, look, go for a walk or something, because you're not my last client. So you can't be transferring this let's go to bed energy and let's go to sleep, because I still have work to do. Any other questions? Go ahead. So you make sure you schedule your time, being really intentional about saying, at this time, I'm going to cut it off, and making that list of to do that is appropriate for the amount of time you have. So there's a technique called Pomodoro technique, where you work a certain amount of time and you take a break. You work a certain amount of time, you take a break. It's usually like 30 and 15. But the whole premise of it, when you start with tasks and you ask yourself, how much time is it going to take me to do this? Because most of the time, we have more tasks than we have time. So that's the reason it feels like we can never get it all done, because you have 2 hours and you told yourself you're going to do 5 hours of work in 2 hours. So starting with that, like if you're saying, okay, I'm going to do my contract stuff from 5 to 7 every evening, or I'm going to do it for 30 minutes while the kids are up, while they're actively reading or doing something else, because you have to model what you want your kids to become, and what you don't want them to become is codependent. So I'm not going to give you all of my time all this evening for you to then grow up to believe that you need to be with someone every minute of the day to be entertained. But that's a whole nother talk. But but you can start with that. So if bump some of what you're doing when they go to bed to when they're awake, and then give them things to do to build autonomy, because then there's some balance. Does that help? Okay. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Everyone is different. It's about how I feel, once again, that intentionality when I wake up and how rested. So I'm very analytical and meticulous. So I have an app that analyzes my sleep every night and give me a percentage and feedback in a weekly report. And so I don't let it dictate, but it's part of the equation. And it made sense because when the pandemic happened, you know, social injustices were heightened, even more and more visual. So the work that I did, that I do as a mental health professional became heavier. So then when we sleep, part of what happens is our brain processes the emotions of the day. And so if I'm seeing 6, 7 people in a day, and they having all of these different things, and I have my own stuff because I'm raising a young black king in the midst of this process, then I needed more sleep to process more of the emotion that was coming through. So that's how you just kind of what it feels good. Like I had somebody tell me like, "Oh, I'm good on 3 hours. I didn't even sleep when I was a baby." I'm like, "You telling yourself lies. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, bro, but you lying to yourself. You've conditioned." But also like when you look at the physical, the mental, the emotional, how you're carrying things throughout the day. Some of us wake up already feeling anxious. Some of us wake up already like, "Oh, he on my nerves," and he ain't even came in the room. He ain't crossed your path. Nothing. Nothing. I saw that side eye, Gabby. Like, that's how you know. Because you should wake up feeling like clean slated. And if you're waking up with some residue of yesterday emotions, and then sometimes we don't even know because if we don't take time to create awareness to label our emotions, then you don't even know. You just wake up feeling like I'm not ready. Then you need more time in the bed. We should naturally wake up without an alarm clock. I know. I'm stretching y'all. I'm not gonna go there. I'm just gonna leave it there. But that's what it is. Mhm.
But I still only sleep 4 hours. That's the most I sleep of any like what time I go to bed.
For how many years?
Oh,
And that's why. Because and that's why. Because you've conditioned your brain. But the other side of it that we do not see is that then we put ourselves in a higher percentage for obesity and high blood pressure and heart disease. Those of us who are sleeping less than 6 hours, your mortality rate increased by 13%. So when I say not sleeping is killing you, it's literally not killing you. I mean, it's literally killing you. So that's what's happening. So yes, you are surviving and probably even thriving because, black girl magic is real. But what you don't see is like, oh, why such and such did this program and I did this program and she lost 12 pounds and I only lost 2, them 4 hours.
but at a certain time I sit down and I just automatically I get up 3:30, 4 o'clock every morning like a alarm. But I still can go to bed at a certain time of night and as you say I wake up in the night and I do get up. But I still never sleep over 4 hours. Like it's not a peaceful.
I had a client that came to me. She was a nurse, and she was an older black lady, and she had not slept more than 5 hours consecutively, in like 8 years. In about 3 months, we was up to 7 hours. It's because I taught her how to cultivate her sleep from the moment she woke up. We like to focus too much around like that bedtime, but just shifting some of the things that you do in the daytime. And when you wake up in the middle of the night, find some calming music to listen to. Do a sleep meditation. Focus on your breathing. Like give praises to God. Start praying. You'll fall back to sleep. Any other questions? Okay. We can go into Boss Lady tell us if we done. Yeah. uh, Waking up tired and doing what? Ooh, caffeine dependency. So, well, you said waking up tired and caffeine dependency. You put them together, like the caffeine. Um, like anything that's addictive, you're going to have to consciously, intentionally choose to go through the withdrawal process. It it depends. Everyone's different. Like one of my clients, I posted something the other day on social media about caffeine and stuff and how it contributes to you not falling asleep and staying asleep. And she commented like, I have to cut mine off at 3 o'clock. Well, we worked together for her to understand